Chapter 17. Equal. Get back here, thief, Shinigami demanded as he sliced the arms off from another standing in front of him. Grinning under his demon mask, Shinigami watched as his victim screamed in agony while staring down at his severed limbs before passing out from loss of blood. The pleasure he achieved from killing was always short, but easily regained. All crimes are punishable by death, thief. Don't make me chase you too long, or I might have to take your legs before your head, Shinigami shouted tauntingly. Moving at a swift pace, he began his pursuit to feed his addiction of death. Following each indention made by footsteps of his fleeing prey made it easy for him to track through the thick bamboo forest. With such a thick forest of bamboo, it was easy to lose sight of prey, but prey rarely think about what they are leaving behind. Shinigami noticed the earth up ahead, near a tight bundle of bamboo, was heavily disrupted. Slowing his pace, then walking softly on the balls of his feet, Shinigami approached the bundle quietly. Hearing the man's heavy breathing just on the other side of the bamboo, he raised his katana and swung, slicing through 5 stalks before his sword was pulled free. Squatting behind the bamboo stumps was the frightened man. You think justice will not find you? Shinigami asked as he raised his katana for another strike. Just then, the man jumped up and began his run once again. Those legs are mine now, thief. Even though some areas of the forest had little light shining in preventing him from seeing the thieves' tracks, Shinigami could still hear his prey's heavy breathing and footsteps. Agitated due to the amount of time pursuing his prey, he knew it was nearing an end. All around him things began to get brighter, and he knew that would mean the edge of the bamboo forest. Suddenly, he heard his prey shouting, "Shinigami! Shinigami!" followed by another voice. As he emerged from the forest with sword in hand, Shinigami stared at the man standing in front of him, with sword held in a defensive posture. What kind of witchery is this? Shinigami thought as he walked over to where the strange-looking and weirdly clothed man stood. Where did the thief go? Shinigami inquired. Thief? The strange man asked. Where is he? Stopping mere feet away, Shinigami demanded. He saw the stranger point to the east, but felt this man held a katana and was not a samurai. That was a crime. While swinging his blade up from down low, Shinigami anticipated a quick kill, but was amused by rays of red light bursting out from their 2 blades contacting. The amusement subsided as he realized he was losing control, not of the fight he was now in with this stranger, but worse. Makoto, no. You relinquished control. This is my body now. No, Shinigami. You haven't fulfilled your oath to me. You haven't killed Daimyo Nobunaga, Makoto informed Shinigami, even though he wasn't sure after all these years how he was able to regain control of his body. This stranger is a witch. That's the only way. Shinigami spoke as Makoto regained control, continuing the fight Shinigami had been in. Wait, that's my sword? Makoto said, holding his last strike as the 2 swords met, emitting streaks of red light. Stepping back, he studied the stranger and his sword. Turning his sword slightly, revealing the carved cherry blossom, Makoto heard the strange man say something, but it was too lightly spoken to understand. Who's the maker of your sword? Makoto demanded to know. Sengo Ishioka, on 3rd day of Rishun, Kevin responded just as amazed. Changing grip on his sword handle, then pressing on the bamboo pin holding it together, Makoto could hear Shinigami in the background of his mind. He is a witch, he will kill you, and you will never have your revenge. You are a mountain demon who tricked Sengo into asking for your help, and then hijacked my life. Think I can deal with a witch, Makoto thought. With his sword dismantled, Makoto stared at the stranger. How is this? This katana was made for me. There is no other, Makoto asked. Not sure. What is your name? I am Kevin. Makoto. Just then, He felt as if something was dragging him back into darkness. As it did, he released his hands while putting the sword back together. "No, Shinigami. I forbid you to regain control." "You forbid nothing," Shinigami informed Makoto. "Why did that man call you Shinigami?" Kevin asked. "Punishment for all crimes is death. Shinigami is the spirit of this sword, and it demands justice," Shinigami instructed Kevin as he turned to distance himself from what he assumed had to be a powerful witch. "You can't do this, Shinigami. I took back control. You—" "No," Shinigami cut Makoto off, knowing what he was going to say. "You are mistaken. I promised revenge for you by killing Daimyo Nobunaga. I never said when. If it quiets you. We will head that way after killing this thief." Soon after their agreement, Shinigami caught up with the thief, removing his left leg and right arm, leaving the death-bound man pointlessly struggling to stand on one leg with the other arm swinging around for balance. As he turned away, Shinigami felt a slight rush of pleasure, hearing the thief's body thud onto the ground. Yet he didn't want to look due to the pleasure it gave him, replaying the man attempting to remain standing. After a few days of riding, Shinigami approached the gates of Daimyo Nobunaga's palace. Shinigami stood tall, surveying the obstacle in front of him, the one that would fulfill his obligation to possess Makoto's body, making it only his. He quickly noticed that since his last visit years ago, the gate had been reinforced with wood and bamboo. But that wasn't the only upgrade. The number of guards had also increased dramatically. Off to his right, he heard something moving off in the distance. Just as quickly as he turned his head in the same direction, he drew his katana. "Is there one bold enough to bring the attack to me?" Shinigami thought, yet only seen a fox walking among the trees. Disappointed, he took in a deep breath through his nose. Shinigami smiled at the strong aroma of fear generated from those chosen to protect their daimyo. "Well, it looks as though someone informed you I was coming. The daimyo has broken the law, and all crimes are punishable by death. Those are his orders. If you leave now, you will not be considered accomplices of the daimyo and can walk away in peace," Shinigami proclaimed. After just a few seconds, he could hear metal clanking as weapons fell to the ground. Once a few fell, it sounded as if all fell at once. Then large reinforcement gates opened, with those that were standing outside the gates well on their way to anywhere but here. Shinigami watched as 2 lines of people flowed from within, giving him a wide berth as they went around him. Shinigami sniffed the air as they ran past, savoring the smell of fear radiating from their pores. Casually, Shinigami walked toward the open gate. "Kill a few thousand people, and things start to open up for you?" He snickered. Once inside the gate entrance, he drew his katana from its saya, quickly, as a guard approached on his way out of the palace. Hearing his body fall to the ground and head rolling, Shinigami stated, "Time's up," as Shinigami's laugh sadistically, "I will have you all put to the pit for this." Shinigami smiled, spotting Nobunaga standing just inside the doorway to his throne room. "Threatening them isn't going to do you any good, my daimyo. I will not be slaughtered like a pig, Makoto. I don't care what you call yourself now, but I will always know you as a little boy I should have had put to death when my daughter became a lady," Daimyo Nobunaga shouted, with his voice laced with fear and defiance. "Oh, daimyo, Makoto wouldn't do the things I am about to do to you. However, I do have to thank you. Had it not been for you breaking him with the death of his child and your daughter, I would have had no opportunity to take control. I guess that is why I have allowed you to live a few extra years. Knowing you would be doing so in fear, that was just a bonus." Shinigami laughed, a laugh that filled the air, sounding like jackals prowling in the night. With noticeable fear in his voice, Daimyo Nobunaga called out, "Take him!" Shinigami watched as shinobis appeared from behind columns, dark-shadowed corners from atop palace walls and buildings. The shinobis were samurais with no masters. Their loyalty was to gold. For the most part, they were highly trained in stealth, whose main function was secrets and assassinations. "Oh yes, this is going to be a good day," Shinigami cried out, as 8 shinobi circled him with each holding their preferred weapons. One shinobi drew his attention more than others. That was one wielding a sodagarami, man-catcher. The long pole with spikes and hooks going in all direction on the end of easily snagged clothing, even samurai's armor. Shinobi did not fight with honor one-on-one. Their goal was to take down and kill those who they were paid for. Shinigami was no different. All at once, all shinobi roared and began their attack, charging in as one. Knowing he had to limit their ability to attack as one, Shinigami ran directly toward the one holding the sodagarami, that being the greatest threat of all. Shinigami watched as blade after blade was thrusted in his direction, each very sharp and controlled by highly trained fighters. Had they been fighting any other person, they stood a very real chance of winning, but against Shinigami, they were already dead. Shinigami's supernatural powers manifested, enhancing his already formidable combat abilities. He moved with an unnatural swiftness, effortlessly evading their attacks and striking them down with ruthless efficiency. His dark energy surged, enveloping the battlefield in an aura of malevolence. Shadows danced and twisted around him, aiding his movements and ensnaring his enemies. With each swing of his katana, he unleashed waves of dark power that cut through his opponents with devastating precision. Avoiding spears and swords being thrusted in his direction with a few jumps and spins, Shinigami closed the distance between him and the wielder of the sodagarami. Once past the many hooks on the pole, Shinigami kicked the shaft, knocking the end, causing it to snag the clothing of 2 shinobis. Quickly, he thrusted the point of his katana through the throat of the one gripping the pole, causing blood to stream into the air. Taking control of the pole's shaft, Shinigami leaned back, making his way between 2 large tables used for those wanting to trade within the safety of the palace walls. With the 2 men still snagged on the hooks of the pole, Shinigami dragged them along. Unable to free themselves from the hooks, each attempted to swing his weapon, only to be stopped by Shinigami, thrusting sodagarami forward, ramming barbed spikes into their bodies, while dark, shadowy figures seemed to hold them helplessly in place. "Now we are having fun!" Shinigami shouted. Within minutes, he had their numbers down to just a few as the last man on the sodagarami bleed out. Dropping the pole, Shinigami jumped upon the table to his left, running back toward the open area where they had started the attack. Now with their numbers low, Shinigami wanted to have some fun. Shinigami's laughter echoed through the palace halls as the shinobi fell one by one, their lives extinguished by his merciless onslaught. Blood stained his hands and dripped from his katana, but his thirst for power and dominance remained unquenched. As the remaining shinobi gathered themselves surrounding him once more in the open, Shinigami looked to Daimyo Nobunaga. "Hope you paid these dead men well, for it only bought you minutes more of life." Believing he was distracted, speaking to Nobunaga, the remaining shinobi advanced for the kill. One by one, Shinigami deflected blades, then removed arms, legs, and heads as he danced his way through their attack. Drenched in their blood as it still rained down after their bodies had already fallen to the ground, Shinigami listened to Nobunaga's heartbeat rapidly. Pulling his sword free from its sheath, Nobunaga's hands shook in fear. "I am your daimyo. I do not fear you. I command you to seppuku. You serve me, and your life is mine to request." With a pull on a string, Shinigami released one side of his mask, allowing it to reveal his face, while his katana held firmly in his other hand, dripped with blood off to his side. Stimulated by the pleasure of killing so many, Shinigami drew in a deep breath through his nose. You smell that? Death has a certain ability of making one feel so very alive. Makoto, well, he would be more than honored to fulfill your request at one time, but you lost the honor of asking for his life when it was given to me. Now, Daimyo, it is time for you to pay the price for my reward. Shinigami savored each step he took toward the daimyo. With each one he took, the smell of fear emitted by Daimyo Nobunaga grew, though he was impressed seeing him step out from the doorway to meet his end. I shall start with your fingers, one by one. Next, I will take your toes the same way and work my way to your head. This will not be pleasant for you. Quickly, Nobunaga raised his sword, only to watch as his Shinigami appeared in front of him incredibly fast. With his sword still above his head, Nobunaga wondered why Shinigami wasn't attacking. Then he realized he already had 2 fingers, as they fell to the ground right in front of his face. With a gasp, Nobunaga dropped his sword and stared at his remaining 3 appendages. My apologies, Daimyo. Guess I got more than one. Let's try that again. Shinigami snickered as he raised his katana once more to separate Nobunaga from another one of his fingers. Stop! Shinigami heard as his sword met steel of another. It can't be. I killed you. Shinigami said, surprised. Well, I guess you weren't very successful, were you? Kill him! I command you, spy! Nobunaga ordered as he picked up his fingers laying in the dirt. Ah, spy! I should have known when I saw the fox it was really Kitsune Tsukai. You are with the witch. Nobody could have survived your wounds. Shinigami said, disappointed that he had not been successful in killing her. My name is Kichi. Learn it because it will be the last one you ever hear. Swiftly, Kichi kicked out, striking Shinigami in his chest, propelling him backwards several feet. No! Shinigami thunderously roared. Anger filled his body as he lunged forward to attack. Kichi had already prepared herself for what was to come, and as he swung down with his katana, she deflected with hers, then countered immediately with a strike to Shinigami's exposed neck, slicing deep within. Feeling the sting of her blade, Shinigami only then realized he had not secured his face mask that protected him from such a maneuver. Slightly startled by the sight of his own blood, having never been cut in battle, he stepped back to prepare for his next attack. Time he didn't have as Kichi's katana was coming down upon him. Quickly he stepped to the side, while doing so heard nothing but laughter. Shut up! Shut up now! Stop laughing! Kichi held her next attack, baffled by what her opponent was saying, for the only other person around was Nobunaga, and he sat moaning while staring at his severed fingers. What is wrong with you? She asked, then went in for the kill, only to be blocked by Shinigami. Stop it! Shinigami shouted once more, before turning toward the open gate holding his wounded throat, all the way hearing Makoto laughing while saying, She cut our throat. Shinigami, his throat grievously wounded, stumbled towards the open gate, desperately trying to escape. The pain was excruciating, but he refused to succumb to his injuries. As he reached the gate, he could hear Kichi's footsteps behind him, closing in fast. With a surge of determination, Shinigami pushed himself to keep running, fueled by his desire for revenge and the fear of what awaited him if he failed. He couldn't let Kichi or anyone else stand in his way. The darkness within him burned fiercely, granting him a resilience that few could match. As Shinigami emerged from the palace grounds and into the surrounding forest, he could feel his strength waning. His steps faltered, and his vision blurred. The wound in his throat was draining his life force, and he knew he had to find a way to heal himself before it was too late. With the last ounces of his strength, Shinigami stumbled upon a hidden shrine deep within the forest. Its ancient presence called out to him, promising solace and restoration. He staggered towards it, his blood staining the ground beneath him. As he entered the sacred space, Shinigami could feel a surge of energy enveloping him. The shrine's mystical aura embraced him, mending his wounded throat and rejuvenating his weary body. The dark energy that had sustained him before now mingled with the sacred power of the shrine, creating a potent and formidable force. With renewed vigor, Shinigami emerged from the shrine. His wounds fully healed, he could sense Kichi's presence not too far away, and he knew that their fates were still intertwined. The battle was far from over, and he was determined to make her pay for her interference. Shinigami moved swiftly and silently through the forest, his senses honed to perfection. He could feel the presence of Kichi growing stronger, her energy drawing nearer. With each step, his anticipation and anger grew, fueling his desire to end her once and for all. Finally, Shinigami found Kichi standing by a moonlit clearing, her gaze fixed upon him. She held her katana with unwavering confidence, ready to face him head-on. The air crackled with tension as they locked eyes, both knowing that only one would emerge victorious from this encounter. Without a word, Shinigami lunged at Kichi, his katana gleaming in the moonlight. Kichi met his attack with equal ferocity, their blades clashing with thunderous force. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath, witnessing the clash of two powerful forces locked in a deadly dance. Their battle raged on, the clash of steel echoing through the night. Shinigami's dark powers surged once again, intertwining with Kichi's indomitable spirit. It was a battle of wills, as much as it was a fight for survival. Time seemed to stretch, each second filled with tension and intensity. Blow after blow, parry after parry, they pushed each other to their limits. Shinigami's laughter, tinged with madness and desperation, filled the air as he fought with relentless determination. But Kichi, driven by her own purpose and resolve, matched him at every turn. She tapped into the full extent of her skills and experience, fighting with a grace and precision that belied her appearance. As the moon reached its zenith, casting an ethereal glow upon the battlefield, the intensity of the battle reached its peak. Shinigami's attacks grew wilder, fueled by a combination of his dark powers and his growing frustration. Yet Kichi remained steadfast, her focus unyielding. With a final surge of strength, Kichi seized an opening in Shinigami's attack, seizing her opportunity with a powerful thrust of her sword.